Coach Elman is a personal forgiveness coach and public speaker who helps others heal by guiding them to connect with the deepest part of themselves. A lifelong learner and former fire protection engineer, Elman brings a unique blend of spiritual insights, resilience, and purpose to his mission of spreading forgiveness, one person at a time. His topic today is Forgiveness, Your Path to Inner Peace. So let's bring to Ascend Your Path platform, Coach Elman.
Thank you, Diane. It's, sometimes when you hear people talk about yourself, say, oh, I'm that? Oh, okay. Well, people are beginning to know me as a personal forgiveness coach because I help them turn resentment into peace through forgiveness. And I'd like to give an example to all of you on camera and this here is an example of my former roommate. We've been friends for 40 years. 6 months ago, he was suicidal. A mutual friend of ours invested many hours trying unsuccessfully to get medical help for him. My inner response is just take care of the cause and the symptoms will subside. So I started coaching former roommate on forgiveness, specifically helping him to forgive the people who caused his childhood traumas. This week, he boldly proclaimed that all the resentments that he had stored up from childhood had been forgiven. He's happier than I ever remember seeing him. Without the burden of the grudges he previously carried, his health is noticeably better. He even now is at his ideal weight, which is 3/4 of what his weight was a year ago. Now, my particular background, I'm the 7th of 11 siblings. I have an older twin brother. We learned to talk much later than most children because we could communicate better without words than the adults could with words. However, as I was growing up, I developed a serious case of stuttering because of not practicing basic speaking skills as a very young child. And due to the competition for my parents' attention by siblings, this stuttering continued for decades. As an adult at a church event, I saw that when I spoke from my spirit, I never stuttered. But when I spoke from my mind, I usually stuttered. This realization helped me to learn to speak from my heart rather than just superficially. Now I can sense what someone is going through and speak to that. In our family, we never apologized to anyone. So we never apologized to anyone. That was just the way it was. But one day while in college, my twin brother came to me and apologized for some little thing that he had done. I was stunned. Where did this come from? Out of nowhere, he acknowledged my perspective. Although I was grateful for the apology, I was very annoyed because that meant in the future I would have to apologize to him about something, and I did not want to do so. My first apology to him, about 2 weeks later, was the beginning of me being able to apologize, not only to other people, but also to myself. And apologizing released some stuck emotions and started me on the road to forgiveness. 17 years ago, a friend came to me and said, Elman, years ago I did something wrong. I confessed it and I was forgiven. But I still can't forgive myself and I need help. My heart went out to him. But what could I do? I took that request to a pastor. The pastor said, yes, Elman, he needs help. And so do many others like him. I heard that pastor's silent plea that I would do something about it. And I said to myself, yes, I will learn how to take care of this. A few months later, I went through Christian counselor training. Fast forward 9 years. I saw from the scriptures everything that I criticized other people for, I did myself. We've heard that God is the only real judge. I did not want God to be judging me after I died. I wanted his judgment while I was still in this life so I can make whatever changes are needed. I prayed that he would reveal to me that when I criticize others, it is myself I'm actually criticizing. Shortly after that, a lady came to me complaining that her household did not have as much money as she wanted, and she blamed her husband for not giving enough away. Because, one well-known spiritual principle is the more you give, the more you will receive. The next 5 months, I wanted to talk to her husband and tell him that if he increased his giving to a particular amount, he would be better off financially. After 5 months, before I talked to him, I inwardly heard someone speaking to me saying, I was not talking about him. I was talking about you. So I increased my giving to that amount and was never again bothered by the other person not giving enough. And yes, my finances did improve by giving more. From this example and multiple other situations, I saw that whenever I criticized someone else, that criticism was actually about something in me that my proud ego refused to recognize. So the universe gave me a magnifying mirror in the form of someone else. Since this made forgiveness of others much easier, seeing this made forgiveness of others much easier. By recognizing that really I was not bothered by them, I was bothered because I saw in them a reflection of me, of something that I did not like. This is my second major epiphany concerning forgiveness. I'll tell you about the first one later. Now, talk about what is forgiveness and what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is letting go of all the stuck emotions in your life. It allows life and the fullness of life to flow through you instead of getting stuck in one particular area. Forgiveness is valuing yourself above whoever did you wrong. It's choosing to not let that person control and deplete your happiness. Often, we need to forgive someone that we do not trust or ever want to see again. Why do we need to forgive such a person? Because if we do not forgive, that person has control over our emotions. Whenever we think of the person, an event, our emotions go haywire. In order to regain control over our own emotions, we need to cut that tie. And we do that by forgiveness. Forgiving is allowing our brain to rest and not keep focusing on toxic events. Forgiveness is not saying that what was done is okay. It's not pardoning anyone. It does not mean you will ever be reconciled or trust the person again. On that point, how does reconciliation fit in? Reconciliation is two-sided. It's something you do to restore peace with someone else, and it requires the other party to also agree. On the other hand, forgiveness is one-sided. It's something you do to restore peace with yourself. It has nothing to do with the party being forgiven. They may never know that you've forgiven them. What about science? How does science work with forgiveness? Through the science of quantum physics, we see that everything is energy. We choose what energy we want in our lives by focusing on that kind of energy. When we choose to focus on lovable things, the world becomes lovable to us. When we choose to focus on bitter things, the world becomes bitter to us. Quantum entanglement explains that items that are nearly identical can communicate instantly across space and time. They fold space and time. This is often exhibited by twins. About 25 years ago, I called my twin brother, who lived 1,000 miles from me, and his wife answered the phone. After talking with her about 50 seconds, I asked if my brother was there. She said that she thought that I was him until just before I asked about him. 3 weeks later, the same thing occurred, only this time she realized I was not him after about 25 seconds. Our voice and pattern of words matched each other. This is quantum entanglement. As far as people are concerned, quantum entanglement can only happen when there is a strong shared feelings. The feelings may be totally different, yet they're connected to the same event. When something happens to us, where we have strong feelings, all parties get entangled. In a situation where a man gets very upset about a business deal gone bad, the feelings of that man become entangled with the other parties in that deal. Thus, whenever he thinks about the event in person, that person controls his emotions. Forgiveness is the power to cut the cord. With forgiveness, he no longer has matching or common feelings, so that quantum entanglement no longer applies to him. Thus, forgiveness is reclaiming the power to live life on your own terms. Jodi Picoult in the storyteller tells us that forgiving isn't something you do for someone else. It's something you do for yourself. Saying, you're not important enough to have a stranglehold on me. Saying, you don't get to trap me in the past. I am worthy of a future. 2 years ago, I coached a woman about forgiveness. As she she considered forgiving her ex. Before that, she had not considered the possibility of forgiving her ex. The next time I spoke with her, she said that she felt so much weight had been lifted off her shoulders. So while previously she was on the verge of having a breakdown, now she could get back to living a normal life. She still needs to forgive a lot more things, but she's heading in a good direction. I can also point you in a good direction. Besides quantum physics, there is a more solid science that explains how forgiveness works: brain science. There is a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. Its function is to filter out the unnecessary information and only allow us to see what's important to us. If we paid attention to everything, we'd go crazy. As an example, to me, there were very few green cars on the road until we bought a green SUV. All of a sudden, there were lots of green cars, especially green SUVs. They were so attractive. One time, while I was returning my car at the airport parking lot, I unlocked the car, got in, and noticed that this was not my car. Nothing inside belonged to me. So I got out, locked the door, went 3 stalls down, and found my car. The two cars were identical, even to the key used to unlock it. This may be coincidence, but it demonstrates that what we focus on is what we get, sometimes not in the way that we expected. Our conscious mind processes less than 1% of the information available to us. The subconscious mind handles the rest. We program our reticular activating system by thinking about things with strong emotions. Whatever we choose to think about and attach emotions to those thoughts will be what we get more of. If we worry, then our RAS believes that we want more things to worry about. If we rejoice, then our RAS believes we want more things to rejoice about. And it allows us to only see the things that cause us to rejoice. When we hold a grudge against someone, the grudge causes our RAS to find more things to make us unhappy, because we're programming it to find things similar to that grudge. By forgiving the person, we stop the resending of negative mental images to ourselves, thus allowing our RAS to find different things to focus on. The practice of a gratitude journal, writing down a few things that we're thankful for each day, has caused many people to see more things they're thankful for. This is how the RAS works. Before talking about how modern medicine views forgiveness, I'll tell you the story of my first epiphany about forgiveness. Someone introduced me to an ancient Hawaiian method of problem solving called Ho'oponopono. It works by taking 5 steps. The first is taking 100% responsibility for what happened. The next 4 steps are saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. At the time, I was receiving a lot of political emails. Most of them said that somebody made a mess somewhere. A lot of them asked for money to help clean up the mess. My standard response was to pray about the situation and then be all bothered inside for the next 2 to 6 hours. When I started applying Ho'oponopono, I took 100% responsibility for whatever happened and said, I'm sorry for whatever there is within me that caused this situation. As I did that, the stress drained out of me. And I did this dozens of times. After a while, I looked forward to these political emails because I felt so much better after the stress drained out of me. The epiphany was that I am responsible for everything that bothers me. And when I take responsibility for it, I can confess it and be forgiven. When I do so, I become at peace. Now, how I was able to convince myself that I was responsible for everything that bothers me will be covered in another talk. You'll be able to find more at my website, www.thecoachelman.com. Now let's turn to medicine. Yes, medical doctors warn us of the dangers of unforgiveness. Don Colbert, MD, tells us that most of our autoimmune diseases, such as headaches, arthritis, and heart problems, can come from stuck emotions. Those stuck emotions come from unforgiveness. There are hundreds of medical articles that tell us of the health problems that anger and hostility bring us. People who live with anger have shortened lives. Dr. David Stoop, in Forgiving What You'll Never Forget, tells of a story where people with terminal cancer, tells of a study where people with terminal cancer who completed a special anger management program were found to be more likely to go into remission. And when the cancer did return, it could be traced back to resuming old anger habits. Another study found that the earlier people learn to live forgiving lives, the better their health is in old age. Forgiveness improves physical health, and that's not the only benefit. I'll highlight 2 others. Forgiveness is necessary for us to be at peace. According to the founder of attitudinal healing, Dr. Gerald Jampolsky, in his book, Love is Letting Go of Fear, writes, inner peace can be reached only when we practice forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting go of the past. Or, in the words of a bumper sticker on my brother's car, forgiveness is giving up all hope for a better past. Forgiveness allows us to communicate effectively. Whenever we talk to anyone, we spontaneously size them up. When we sense that something's not quite right, it puts us on guard and causes us to reject or at least question everything they say. Similarly, when I have a negative thought towards someone, that one will not be able to fully receive what I say because the energy from my negative thoughts will overwhelm the words that I speak. Forgiving the person takes the negative energy away and allows for free communication. Heart center. For now, I've talked about what forgiveness is, some of the benefits of forgiveness, and some of the pain of forgiveness. So how do we enter into forgiveness? How is presented in a hidden way at the very beginning of the Bible. There in the Garden of Eden were 2 trees. We are told that we would eat, if we would eat of the tree of life, we would live forever. But if we would eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, we would die. Forgiveness and unforgiveness live on the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you're not aware that anyone did anything wrong, there is no such thing as forgiveness because there's nothing to forgive. According to the legend of these two trees, when you became aware that anybody did anything wrong, you die. What really dies is the unhindered communication with God. We were not created to live with our mind as our governor. We were created to live in the realm of spirit and heart. That is the tree of life. And it's very difficult to forgive from the mind, but easy to forgive from the heart. When we're focused on the properness of action or how bad it is, whether we think we should forgive or not, we usually cannot forgive. In order to forgive, we simply turn from our reasoning mind to our loving heart. When we're loving someone, unforgiveness does not exist. We spontaneously live in the realm of forgiveness. In the realm of the tree of life, that is the realm of love, there's no recognition that any wrong occurred, and offenses cannot take root. So there's nothing to forgive. As an example, a baby knocks a mug of coffee upon a mother. The mother does not condemn the baby, but even though she may carry a scar from the burn for the rest of her life, love covers sins. Forgiveness is an act that comes from the heart. A mind-centered forgiveness does not disperse trapped emotions. To forgive, we must go deeper than right or wrong. Knowledge does not forgive. It wants to even the score. Love forgives so completely that it's not aware that anything needs to be forgiven. So how do we move from knowledge to love? Earlier, I mentioned the friend who could not forgive himself, even though he had the knowledge that he was forgiven. I think that he couldn't forgive himself because he didn't love himself. The most difficult person to forgive is ourselves. We condemn ourselves for not taking care of others enough, yet we forget to take care of ourselves. So I've developed a simple exercise that will help us move from knowledge to love. We can do it now while on Zoom. Remember back to childhood. Think of an experience when you were scolded and give yourself a big hug and say, me, love, me. Say it again. Me, love, me. One more time. Me, love, me. Why do this? When you say, me, love, me, your mind revolts at the improper grammar, thus making it easier to switch out of being mind-centered into heart-centered. The mind prefers the word I, while the heart likes me. So let's offend our mind even more and switch to our heart by giving ourselves a big hug and say, me, love, me. Whenever you're having difficulty forgiving someone, practice hugging yourself and say, me, love, me. The practice of loving yourself and declaring that love will make it so much easier to forgive one another, because forgiveness is a matter of love. To our Bible believing listeners, the New Testament focuses on the gospel of forgiveness. We believe in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ for the remission of our sins. And the sign that we've received forgiveness is that we love one another with a deep, unexplainable love. How do we know that we've forgiven? A variation of a 1,000-year-old quote is, forgiveness is the fragrance that a violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. Expounding on this, we need to be like the crushed violet, unbothered by the suffering we went through and genuinely blessing the one who hurt you. When you have fully forgiven someone, when you think of what happened, your desire is blessing, not revenge. No matter how terrible the event might have been, you no longer live there. You live in your heart where love and blessings abound. Sometimes when we think that we've forgiven, the remembrance comes back to haunt us. Brain science talks about the neural pathways in the brain. We may have fully forgiven, yet the neural pathways in the brain that cause us to react in certain ways still remain. Rewiring our brain takes some amount of exercise and diligence. Deciding to forgive may take time, yet everyone can do this. Forgiveness itself is instantaneous, but the built-up patterns in our brain requires time and discipline to be completely rewired. The reward of this discipline is inner peace. If you're looking how to be released from a grudge or know someone who's troubled by unforgiveness, come to thecoachelman.com. There you'll find more forgiveness tips, a free gift, and opportunity to sign up to work with me. Thank you.